episode 2 of the Future Intelligence podcast, The World in 2050 and Beyond. And me and my co-host, Dr. Tamas Landesz, are very happy to have an honor guest, Stefan Verra, a body language specialist that is very known worldwide, and I'm very happy. I met him first time in 2011 on the stage of Graz Orpheum, giving a lecture of how human beings are giving some information just by gestures. And I learned a lot and I laughed a lot. And also I learned and laughed a lot by his last book, How Women and Men Are Different or Not Different. And our German-speaking people buy that book. That's great. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you, Tamas, for making it happen and connecting us from such far away from Fiji. And welcome, Stefan Verra.
Thank you for having me, Karine. Thank you for having me, Tamas. It's a great, great honor.
Yeah, Bula Vinaka. Hello, Stefan. Hello, Karine. It's great to connect with you from Fiji, from the other side of the world, where yesterday meets tomorrow. It's the only country in the world which is split by the meridian. So it's a great place to talk about the future and body language.
Great metaphor. Great metaphor for that topic.
Exactly. I mean, we are in different parts of the world. I'm in California, and Stefan is in Germany.
In Munich, Germany, yes.
So we already triangulate our efforts to see the future. And what I want to ask you, the very first question is about, I mean, nowadays the technology develops in fulminant speed. And our communication changes from in-person communication to communication in silico. And, well, for me it is important to gesticulate. I'm a Mediterranean woman, and I have gestures, I have a mimic that speaks what I feel. And the question is that while we don't communicate in person, how our body language gonna change and how the information gonna change from our body language in 2050 or 2100? What is your forecast?
Well, that is quite easy to answer, because in 2050 and 2100, even 2300, nothing much will have changed, because our body language, the human body language, is older than human itself. The Homo Sapiens is 300,000 years old, which is not a very successful kind of homos, because the Homo erectus existed for over 3 million years, so he was way more successful than we were. He only had one disadvantage. We developed a bigger brain, so the brain people have more advantage than the power people, so to say, in evolution. But why I told you that is because the body language, the human body language, is so old, so that 50 years, 100 years, 200 years won't change anything. Why is our body language so stable? It is so stable because we were in need of understanding the signals of other people, even over a period of 500 or 1,000 years. Remember the big crisis in our history, for instance, the ice ages, where very few people who lived on the planet were spread apart. And after a couple of 100 years we met again, we still had the necessity to understand the signals of other people. Were they aggressive? Were they mating with us to reproduce? We needed to understand that. And coming to us now, we are changed with new technologies like artificial intelligence. I think it is very dangerous if we always say the same, everything will change, because that will lead to an insecurity in all the population worldwide, and the result of that insecurity is that people get standoffish, and they say, no, we want everything like it was before. But we can't turn around the time. We can't turn it backwards, so we always have to say to people, most of the things will remain the same. We fall in love the same way. We experience aggression the same way. We will feel enthusiasm the same way. Only the side of knowledge will change, because artificial intelligence is way better to gather information, to gather also studies. For instance, if we talk about the medical world, I know you two are way more into that topic, but artificial intelligence is way better to find new molecules, for instance, for vaccines. It is way better because artificial intelligence learns how to think a molecule thinks. And that is a thing that's very abstract, but that is a thing that we can't compete with as human beings. But artificial intelligence is nothing we will ever fall in love with except some creepy people, maybe, mostly men, maybe those, but mainly those things that give us an emotional feeling, which is tautologist, which is saying the same, which gives us an emotional homeland. Those people, those things will all remain the same.
Thank you. I like that future. Tamas?
And yeah, perhaps let me build on that, Stefan. Thank you very much for giving us an insight of how important body language, the history and the future basically are connected, that we expect that's our humanity that we have to protect. Here in Fiji, I'm all connecting to what you said. I'm very impressed how the traditions from the past still live today. You know, you arrive to the airport, they are greeting you with these bula shirts. Everyone is in these shirts for many hundreds of years, probably. There's music around you, and there's a tradition of storytelling, which is called talanoa. People, the community is gathering around the mat. They are telling stories to each other, and that's how they build purpose and commitment towards important goals. I find that very, very nice, and also connecting to many other philosophies and ways of thinking, even religions around the world. Uh, and it has links to body language and the way we express ourselves as humans. But my question is, if artificial intelligence will give us a virtual world, you know, in which a lot of our human friends will immerse. How do you think body language and these traditions will be translated into that virtual world, in the virtual communications with each other?
You know, I can't look into the future how it exactly will happen. But normally, if we look into our history, the more things to get inhumane, the more we tend to search for things that connect us. For instance, the pandemic. If we look at the pandemic, we were forced to separate from each other. We were forced to be in our homes, and we were forced to wear face masks. So that is very inhumane, because we rely on connecting. We are a ruddle animal, like dogs, you know. We can't live alone, except some creeps. We can't live alone. Now, what did happen? As soon as we were forced to separate from each other, people gathered in the streets and demonstrated against the governments all over the world. And as soon as we were allowed to connect with each other again, all those demonstrations disappeared. So we have to see that from a very high perspective. We as ruddle animals, our brains work like that. We want the connection with each other. Now you're asking me, now what if we go into into the virtual world, you know, if we are in a metaverse, and Karine is with all the beautiful people, but with her glasses on. Tamas is also with his glasses on, and me too. We see those fascinating things, you know, but we can't find the connections. And if we talk about the mirror neurons in our brain, Giacomo Rizzolatti did research on that in the 1990s. He researched and he came to the conclusion that there is more in our brain that is not esoteric or something, you know, that you do with incense sticks. Oh, we need each other. No, it's hard facts, it's hard science. We react way more on living creatures than on virtual world. Now, I can't look into the future. Maybe in the future, scientists find something that will trigger our mirror neurons, might be, then everything will be different. But now it is that we don't fall in love with on Tinder. We don't fall in love with a virtual world. We are fascinated by that. But the more we are in a virtual world, the more we want to connect in real world. Another example is, we have music now available everywhere. We grew up with CDs, with cassettes. We grew up with that. Nowadays, you have Spotify and all those things everywhere. But what happened? The concert industry, the industry where people gather in front of a stage where you see living creatures making music went up like crazy. Live Nation, for instance, this big company, they made billions of dollars because people want to go out and want to see real live people. So I'm not very pessimistic, I'm very optimistic. I only would pay more attention that we don't say everything will change. No, the real things that make us human, they will always remain the same.
Thank you very much. It's great allegory, but you know, during I was doing my master's in psychology, our body language teacher told us that people who show their feet to the door, they want to run away from you.
Yeah.
And that's probably correct. But nowadays, I communicate mostly in video conferencing, in online, with emails. I don't see their feet.
Yeah.
Will it be some substitutes to that we can get that information? I mean, sometimes we know that people want to run away without understanding these signs. We just subconsciously take it. Will that somehow merge with our language, written language, or electronic language, or smileys? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So, simple answer to that. Number one, if the feet are pointed towards the doors, and it would mean that people want to leave that room. Sorry, Karine, that is junk science. There is no study in the world that would support that thing that your professor said. Sorry, I don't want to harm your professor, but that is simple junk science, you know?
No worries, he don't know English.
Okay. okay. So, but one thing is absolutely correct. Nowadays, as we are talking and as people are watching this, you only see a part of our body. And that is truly a problem, because from our history, we needed the whole body. We didn't, you know, if you have a saber-toothed tiger has, in essence, the same body language as we have. But the saber-toothed tiger didn't judge the other saber-toothed tiger because he raised one eyebrow. This saber-toothed tiger always saw the whole body of the other saber-toothed tiger. So what we dearly need is to see the whole body and not judge anyone only because he or she shows one signal with one hand or one eye. And that is why, by the way, as you see me, I always are a little bit away from my camera. Because a little hint for anyone, if you want to make a good expression, always Try that you are visible from the top of of your head down to your belly, because then you can see my gestures, you can see how I'm moving around, you get an impression. And it would be way better if you see the whole body, because that would be a mirror of real life. And you're absolutely right, we are now in some sort of a middle step. Now we have the cameras, we sit in front of the cameras and we just see the face and maybe the shoulders. That is way too little to get an impression, not to get the information. The information can be delivered with our words, but to be honest, you could also write that down, because the information is just the words. But how I mean my words, the enthusiasm behind my words, you only see that because you see my facial expressions, you see my eyebrows, you see my hands, you see my arms, and that is what makes communication. So we always need both parts. We need the information delivered with our words, and we need the body language, because body language, scientifically spoken, is an information of second order. It's an information that gives us information about the information. Only with the body language we realize, are those words to be taken serious? Are those words to be taken likable? Are those words to be taken trustworthy? So we always have both parts in communication, and that is why we would need the whole body to be seen, even on camera.
I absolutely understand, and now I'm a little bit uncomfortable. But, you know, there is another question that I want to really give you. So I like what you said. And what I want to ask about that, you know, we have this craziness nowadays about privacy. We have had some years ago a boom of showing everything on Facebook, on Instagram, on any of kind of social media. And now everybody is speaking about privacy in one hand. On another hand, we meanwhile learned that body language giving so much information, and we are aware, more aware as 30 years ago about our body language, and people are trying to fake what they really feel. So this discrepancy is hilarious sometimes and making me really laugh, not smile even. But in some cases, especially in politics, if people are very good trained, that's very dangerous. How you see these developments with awareness and more possible channels of using the body language of manipulation?
Yeah. So that is really a big problem. I want to describe it, how dangerous artificial intelligence can be and will be in the future, in the near future. And that is deepfakes. Now, the thing is, let me give you a metaphor. In the near future, if you watch a Netflix or Amazon Prime series, now you have writers, you have actors and things like that. And it takes a very long time to produce such a series. In the near future, it will be that someone has to type in some words. Maybe it's a series about thriller, 5 men, 4 women will play in that. It's a lot of guns, a lot of dead people, and it should be very, very attractive. They only have to type that in, and within a very short time, maybe a couple of hours, the artificial intelligence will produce that series. Now, that is point number 1. That will change the whole game. Point number 2 is artificial intelligence will constantly change the book of the script of that series, because artificial intelligence will learn what attracts people the most. So you will turn off Netflix and they will produce a series that you can't turn off because it is so attractive to you. Because artificial intelligence will always learn more and more and more and more what you like. And now you won't need any actors anymore. You won't need any scripters anymore. You won't need that anymore. And now, coming back to manipulation, as you told me, the thing is, the same thing will happen in politics. You will have a person that looks like, don't know, take anyone, take Vladimir Putin, not taking any political side, just the example of Vladimir Putin. You will have Vladimir Putin, and he, as a deep fake, not being the real Vladimir Putin, but he looks the same on video, and he says something that even a person who dislikes Vladimir Putin will say, oh, okay, I didn't like him, but with this point, he's absolutely right. And that is the dangerous thing. So people who originally didn't like him will tend to say, that is a good idea from a person I didn't like before. Now the artificial intelligence will even learn more to say things that even a person who hated before Vladimir Putin will tend to like him more and more. And now you can imagine what will happen. The only way out of this, and this will happen in the near future, in the next 2, 3, at the most 5 years. There is even one computer nowadays who can do that. I think it's called Sonoma or something like that. It only takes too much processing power nowadays, but in the near future it will be very easy to do, like ChatGPT now. So the only way out of that dilemma is that we see those people in real life. That we really see Vladimir Putin, that we really see people on a stage or in a room or in a meeting, so that we can judge the real person and not the person that artificial intelligence always sneaks more and more into our lives. And that is why I think the same is with music, even nowadays. You know that 1 or 2 years ago, artificial intelligence wrote a song in the style of Drake, and that song had the same amount of clicks as the original Drake songs. And you can't decipher whether this is original Drake or artificial intelligence Drake. So it is not about the quality of the music. It is only the live performance of Drake that you will connect with. Now, you could say, as an advocatus diaboli, now, why do I need a Drake then? Now, the answer is in our brains. We are a rudal animal. We need human beings. We connect with human beings, and we never ever connect with something that is only on a flat screen or in the virtual world. That is why I think the real life meetings with politicians will get more and more important. And to bring it back in our private life, of course, if in the future, if you have a profile on Tinder, your artificial intelligence processing unit in Tinder will change your profile always better and better, so that you attract more and more people. And you will get a lot of attraction around the world. But you know what? Only in real life, the other person will see, is that you, or was that only the virtual world? And falling in love also only happens if you meet people in real life. So it is not so easy to say that the whole world will change. I think it is important to always keep in mind what makes us human. And I'm not against the virtual world. I'm not against the artificial intelligence. But we always have to realize there's always one step, and that is the step when it comes to a real connection. And the real connection is always when we see that politician in the same meeting room, when we see that band playing on stage, and when we meet that Tinder profile in real life.
Stefan, you brought me to two ideas.
Yeah.
One idea is about the globalization, because I mean sometimes I know if people speak like this, or they have a specific behavior, body language. I can guess from which part of the world or even the nation from where they come. Nowadays, we are building, we have almost no borders in body language and in communication as we have had before. So, we don't have these big walls around our cities or countries. Well, the Chinese wall is standing, but nobody is using it. So the question is how in 100 years, having no borders in communication and having this possibility of speaking around the globe right now, how it gonna change us, how it gonna change our habits, how it gonna bring us somehow back to being still human in our small homes.
Wow, what a clever question. I never got that question. And while you were talking, my brain worked very hardly, and the answer is there's only one way answer. So I was in New York for 10 days. I had to do there, and I saw people. And of course you can see where's the origin of that person. Is that a North American, or does he come from Peru or from Brazil? You see that, The more sun, there are studies, the more sun, the more expressive the movements in the body. But what happens if it's easier for us to change our places? And I think you are talking nowadays about a first world problem, because people who have money can live wherever they want. The best example is you, who went from Armenia to California. A Hungarian like Tamas is now in Fiji. And the thing is, that is a first world problem, so the people who can afford that is very small. But through climate change, people have to move away. So they have to move out of the hot areas in our world, like Africa, like Southeast Asia. They have to move more north. Now the first generations, they will keep their body language, because it takes a very long time to be fully integrated in a society. And it's not the rich people, we get easily integrated, but if you see everywhere in the world, people who come into a country, most of the people say, no, we don't want you. Now, what happens? They have to keep their connection very close, because no one else helps them. And it takes generations, even in Germany, even in Austria, those rich nations, it keeps them together. In the US, it's very, very easy to see the Puerto Ricans, the Latinos, they stay together until they have a certain money, certain economic level. Then they are accepted by everyone else. And now they are marrying people from other nations, and what happens is that those typical signals that you will see, they get weaker and weaker. And maybe in the future it will be the same as with our languages. The languages disappear. Because, sorry, but 150 years ago, a lot of people spoke German. But who needs German except the Germans and the Austrians? We only speak English, like we. So if you look in the world, it's English, it's Arabic, it's Chinese, but Chinese is very, very secluded, and it's French and it's Spanish. That's it. And all the other languages have a hard time, and will be having a hard time even more in the future. And the same is with those typical body language. I think we will tend to end in a middle ground. But to be honest, we, the three of us, we won't see that, because we won't live that long enough.
Okay. Well, I needed German.
Yeah.
because I went to Austria and the doctors were speaking English, but the nurses and midwives would speak to each other in German about me, and I would not understand. So I learned German.
But the children of those midwives and of those,
exactly.
you know, they will. I see it with my children. You know, they are 16 and 17, and English is their second language. English is so normal for them, and you know, it will go down and down and down, and English will be a second language for almost everyone in the world. And now we have some nations. Before the war, I did a speech in Russia, and I was astonished how few young people spoke English. And I thought they are missing, I don't know, 80% of the whole internet because they don't understand English. But this is only a time. If we think in periods of 50 years, of 100 years, there is, with globalization, there is no other way than to find a common language of communication. And the same is with body language. The basic body language was always the same. You know, aggression, being sad, being astonished, we always understood that. Charles Darwin was the first one who realized that. But it's the same with spoken language. That is my opinion.
So, a nice forecast. Please, Tamas.
Yeah, thanks, Karin. Yeah, but the Nido-German, I mean, here in Fiji, which is the other side of the world, we have just the other island here belongs to the Red Bull owner. So there's some German spoken even here.
Austrian, Tamas, Austrian.
Austrian, German, yeah. So there you go. But what I wanted to tell you, I mean, this is a very fascinating topic, right? Connecting traditions, body language with the future and artificial intelligence, robotics. Here, there's so many traditions that I see. You know, for example, when you meet someone here, you know, this is the Gula Vinaka. This is how they express thank you. In Afghanistan, where I work, it would be Teshekri, and they put their hands on their heart. And in other countries, they bow, for example. But what I also found as a tradition, especially here in the Pacific, people come together around the table with food when they connect. Food is an extremely important aspect of cultural life of every day, and that's where everything is made. You know, around the mat, sharing the food. Even in some of these countries here, good morning is not the typical good morning, but have you eaten enough? That would be the translation, because it's important to eat, right, and to share. So if we move into this virtual world, robots around us everywhere in the future, in the next decades, maybe we'll, as you said, we'll not see that, but definitely it's coming. How will our culture transform? I mean, if we are not able to share our food around the table in the future, what will be the virtual food that will keep us together?
One step back, because you told me the very interesting thing. In Fiji, they say thank you like that, and in Afghanistan, they say thank you like that, and some of them would bow, as you said before. I want to describe you and all the listeners the common ground for that, because that is a universal thing. Everywhere in the world, when you say thank you, you put your hands in a very passive gesture. So something that is not aggressive, you say, we pray like that. We say thank you like that. If you go to Southeast Asia, that is a very common gesture. The people in Afghanistan do it like that. In some areas, they put their hands down there like that and just bow. That is number one. We all do the same. We show with our hands, I am not aggressive. I'm not able to fight with you. So I'm either thankful to you or to God. Now you have the connection to the Catholic world. And the same thing is bowing. You know, if we greet anyone, both of you are around the world all the time. You will realize everywhere in the world, everyone bows to each other. Bowing means I don't make myself taller and bigger and stronger than you are. So if we start the communication, everyone does the same and bows. So we have to see the common ground. The common ground is everywhere. Those little differences, like you told before, yeah? Or for instance, in some parts of Africa, they bow and kiss the shoulders of the person they are greeting. So those little differences, they are important to distinguish. My tribe is different. So if I see someone and he or she kisses my shoulders, I realize, he is from my tribe. But the baseline, bowing, is the same everywhere. So I just wanted to clarify that or give you an insight from the body language perspective. Now, eating on camera, very difficult. You are absolutely right. Now, I can't look into the future. Anton Zeilinger, I'm sure you know him, who won the Nobel Prize. He did some research on beaming, you know. He was successful in transferring molecules from that point to a point anywhere on the globe. He won a Nobel Prize on that. But I'm not the one capable of saying where will we end. But maybe in the future we will be able to eat around the globe the same thing. I don't know. But the thing is, I come back to my point. The real connection, when you went to Fiji, Tamas, and you entered the island, and you said they greeted you, and everyone is wearing the same thing. You only have to realize what gives you a good feeling. And getting a good feeling doing a video call with people from Fiji is a different good feeling than meeting those people in Fiji. On the other hand, being afraid of people from Fiji is different, because if you are afraid of a person from Fiji via video camera, is not the same intensity than being afraid of a person in Fiji that you meet in person. Maybe that makes the thing clearer, you know. So the real aggression, you only feel that if you really encounter a person from Fiji. Maybe that metaphor helps more than the positive side, but it's only a metaphor. Real life is the thing. And I think it's not either the artificial intelligence, the metaverse, the virtual reality, or real life. I think the future is that, and you know, the Apple Vision, those glasses, that is the first step to connect it. You know, so if Karine and me, we are meeting, and Tamas comes to us and we see you the same, I can touch Karine and I can see Tamas, maybe bringing those worlds together, that will be the future. But it is not that we should be afraid that all the things will happen only in the virtual world. Sorry that I speak so long, but I have one more thing. When the pandemic started, the companies were very enthusiastic about reducing the sizes of their offices because everyone does home office. And I did several interviews and several publications and said, hold on, no one started to work in a company to start as a ruddle animal in a ruddle to be separated from the ruddle and work all alone at home. They will start to hate it, and that is the thing that happened. They love it for 2 months, for 3 months, and after that they think, oh, I'm missing the connection of the people, of my colleagues in the office, number one. And the people in charge, they find it nice in the beginning, but after a couple of weeks, they start to losing the feeling of being in control. What does the guy who I'm paying every month some money, what does he or she do at home? I don't know it. Because when he was in the office and I walked by the office, I saw him, and that gave me some sort of being in control of the things. Now what happened? They set up so many video calls because that was the only possibility to know what they are doing. So we need that connection of being, you know, of getting some sort of security. What does my ruddle do? So I'm not very pessimistic to say the third time. I think it will be a connection of virtual world and real world altogether. Hey, and by the way, don't ask me any questions because I can't answer shortly. I always talk like
Yeah, no, it's great what you said, and you know, it reminds me of my visit to the museum here in Fiji in Suva yesterday, where there's the tradition, Fiji tradition, history, and apparently there's one chief here. In the 19th century, he was the most prolific cannibal in the world. He ate 999 people. The last one was eaten 150 years ago or something. So don't worry. But that reminds me of, we talked about eating, we talked about human relationships, and also how body language and the virtual world can give us also security, from, for example, from such things. So it's just reminded me an interesting connection. But the other thing is here we are talking about signals, right? Human signals, body language, but also about technology. And here in Fiji, what happens is because we have the meridian, and yesterday and tomorrow kind of overlap, signals, virtual signals or digital signals are kind of skewed up. So GPSs don't work properly. It's a graveyard of drones because they get they just get confused. And I just wanted to share that with you because I find it very interesting and maybe connects to our talk today as we close.
So for how long will you be on the Fiji Islands?
For one more week, about a week more.
Wow, great.
That's beautiful. I mean, we spoke about very interesting topics. We got very exciting insights. Do you want to give us an advice, Stefan?
Yeah.
How to prepare for future, not only with our minds, but with our bodies and our body language?
Yeah. I give you a very practical advice. And that is my boys who go to school, they experience ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. And a lot of teachers say it is forbidden to use that. And while the teacher says that, they are sitting on their desk and using ChatGPT. So it is so idiotic to prohibit something that is inevitable. The thing is, what ChatGPT does, it writes their speeches, it writes their works. It is reality. But you know what? Our boys have to stand in front of the classroom and deliver that speech. And that is the best thing you can learn your children. To survive in future will not be to know more about human history, to know more about, medicine, to know more about physics, because you in future, it will be way easier to retrieve that information via virtual reality. But giving the people around you a good feeling, giving them some sort of trustworthiness, giving them some sort of, I mean that serious, you see my body language, giving them an awareness that it is not what you say. That might be the real core feature of artificial intelligence. It will be how you deliver that. And I think our school systems have to change dramatically so that they will learn more to incorporate their body language, their gestures and their facial expressions. And for all of you who are listening right now, don't forget your facial expressions, because you are the only one who doesn't see your own face. You think all the time that you look so friendly, people around there. But reality is only the other people see it. So raise the corners of your mouth way more often work more with your eyebrows. If you listened the whole interview, you saw how often I raised my eyebrows. Those are the things that evoke the emotions of other people, and that will give them the feeling that you are a special person. And I think that is the future.
This is a bigger advice. Thank you. Thank you very much. This was a great talk, Stefan, being here. Tamas, thank you for making it happen even from a graveyard of drones. So, thank you, and we'll see each other in real life. Ciao.
Thank you, I hope so much. Bye. Thank you for having me. It was a great honor.